Tonight on NewsWatch, long-term unemployment. Americans go years without finding a job. How to break the cycle.
Can't is not an option for me, so I ran for governor.
Plus, we sit down with Governor Nikki Haley. She's a rising star in the Republican Party with big ideas for getting the country back on track. And America in the red. A look at our exploding national debt, why this disease is killing the economy. All this and much more tonight on NewsWatch. More signs tonight. The U.S. economy is growing. Good evening. I'm Wendy Griffith. The number of people seeking unemployment benefits fell to a 4-year low last week. Labor analysts say the news is promising. They'll be closely watching the new monthly numbers, which come out tomorrow. But there's still great concern about the more than 5 million people who are what's called the long-term unemployed. Heather Sells starts our coverage with tonight's top story.
Hiring is slowly making a comeback in the U.S. Since last October, the unemployment rate has been steadily declining, and right now it's at 8.3%. That's 12.8 million unemployed workers. Tomorrow's numbers may show yet another drop, but what many are concerned about, the 5.4 million who remain unemployed long term.
They're starting to lose motivation. They're starting to become demoralized. Beyond frustrated. Clearly, they're losing their homes, they're losing their families, they're losing everything they have. Absolutely.
Atlanta Manpower Manager Beth Herman works closely with employers to identify candidates for both temporary and full-time jobs. And while she says companies have begun hiring again, she's concerned about the long-term unemployed. Officially, that's anyone who's been jobless for more than 27 weeks.
Something we're talking a lot about with the Department of Labor, that we've got an issue in the U.S. of perennially long-term unemployed, which is going to go from bad to worse if we don't do something to shore up that gap and get them back into the workforce, because 2 years will quickly become 4 years, will quickly become 6 years, and then what?
One piece of good news for job seekers is that several million unfilled jobs exist right now. Herman says the hardest areas to employ in are the skilled trades, IT, engineering, accounting, and finance. And she also says that the way you spend your time while unemployed can make all the difference.
When I meet a candidate that says, you know what, I lost my job, but I've been networking, I've been doing contract work, I've been volunteering, I've been doing, I am on that computer night and day, that's a motivated candidate.
Heather Sells, CBN News.
Small business owners are getting a break thanks to a new bill signed today by President Obama. The new law will help small businesses and startups grow and create more jobs. It will make it easier for them to raise money and find investors. It also lowers some of the bureaucratic barriers entrepreneurs face. The bill had bipartisan support in the House and Senate, but critics worry the law puts investors at risk. Nikki Haley is the governor of South Carolina and a Republican leader on the move. The 40-year-old was elected just 15 months ago and is already making waves on the national stage. Her experiences as an Indian American growing up in the South helped shape the woman she is today. Jennifer Wishon explains.
Nikki Randhawa Haley was born to Indian immigrants in the small town of Bamberg, South Carolina, a place where things were black and white, down to the people. For a girl with brown skin and a Sikh father, life in Bamberg wasn't always easy.
We were the only Indian family in the small town of Bamberg, South Carolina. My dad wore a turban and my mom wore a sari, and Bamberg had never seen anything like that. So we survived. We survived the only way we knew how, and we stayed close and we stayed committed to each other.
Young Nikki faced her share of discrimination. She was even disqualified from a beauty pageant because, get this, the judges didn't know whether to put her with the white or black contestants.
What I want people to take is we had challenges in this small southern town, but now that same Indian girl was elected as a 38-year-old Indian American female for the governor of the state of South Carolina. It says so much about South Carolina.
Her parents taught her can't is not an option. It became her personal motto and is the title of her new book that details her journey to the governor's mansion. She faced many obstacles, including what she calls the implosion of former Palmetto Governor Mark Sanford, the Republican sweetheart who fell from grace after going public about an extramarital affair with his Argentinian soulmate.
All of a sudden, I went from being the person that Sanford was going to endorse to the person who couldn't get anybody to return her phone calls.
Haley's parents practiced Sikhism. During her gubernatorial race, she was pressured to distance herself from them. It's something she wasn't willing to do. She says her Indian heritage helped prepare her for public service.
Indian families are very close. They believe strongly in work ethic. And more than anything, my mom always said, if you do something, make sure you're great at it. Make sure that people remember you for it.
Haley converted to Christianity after meeting her husband, Michael. She's only been governor for 14 months, but there's already speculation about what's next for the young Republican. Could she end up on the short list for vice president?
I'm not a planner. I've never been one that thinks too far ahead because then you're disappointed. God has opened a lot of doors for me. And so I take it one step at a time and do the best I can. And then the next day I wake up and say, let's try this again.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
Debt, it's like an invisible disease. It keeps growing silently and causing more and more damage. America's national debt has exploded in recent years, and it's getting bigger. The question is just how much damage will it do to our economy? Paul Strand reports.
America's economic machine hits another mark, but it's nothing to crow about. According to many analysts, our debt is now as big as the nation's entire economic output for a year. In other words, if each dollar the U.S. produced for an entire year went to the federal debt, it would just barely pay it off. Fiscal hawk Marco Rubio sees great danger ahead.
The consequences are grave moving forward because not only is the debt high, but according to the Congressional Budget Office and all the experts that are looking at it, there's no plan in place to change that anytime in the near future. It's debt as far as the eye can see.
Conservative economic analyst and author Phil Kerpen says you wouldn't think a country's gross domestic product, or GDP, and its debt would have anything to do with each other, but research shows they do.
When countries get above 100% of GDP, they have real difficulty financing their debt, and it tends to precipitate major fiscal challenges.
And the existence of this debt, without a plan to fix it, is really slowing down the ability of this economy to recover, and people are hurting. Go ask them. You'll see people are hurting. They've lost their jobs. They're working twice as hard, making half as much.
Leading Tea Party Senator Jim DeMint agrees.
Our country's never been here before. We've never had a debt bigger than our economy with a plan to double that debt. There's not that much money in the world to borrow.
In his book, Saving America from Economic Collapse, DeMint points out what the dollar is really worth.
And the only thing that makes that dollar valuable is faith, that we can pay our debts, that dollar is always going to be good. But we have to borrow 43 cents on every dollar we're spending now, and the rest of the world understands that. If you did that as a family or as a business, you're out of business. You're bankrupt.
Some countries in Europe are already facing a debt crisis, and Kerpen says that makes America's financial condition look better than it is.
What's keeping the U.S. afloat right now is that Europe is in so much worse condition than we are, and that there's still a big demand for U.S. debt. And I don't think we can count on being sort of the least dirty shirt in the hamper, and that investors will keep putting us on.
DeMint warns that the troubles in Europe could eventually lead to serious ripple effects here in the U.S.
Our banks are heavily invested in Europe. If the euro collapses, dominoes could start to fall this year. And after that starts to happen, people lose confidence in our dollar.
Whether it's a crisis in Europe or just the constantly growing debt, Kerpen and others warned that at some point, the cost of paying back the debt is going up, way up.
Interest rates are going to be sharply higher if we don't change the course of our fiscal policy in this country. You can't keep this going forever.
Then you go from a situation where interest rates are creeping up to moving up to skyrocketing up.
J.D. Foster served in the last Bush White House as chief economist at the Office of Management and Budget. He says doubt in our debt-riddled dollar can quickly turn to disaster, like in Portugal, where interest rates have soared.
In Portugal right now, their 10-year treasury is trading at about 18.7%.
If that happens here,
just interest expense will start to consume an enormous amount of the federal budget.
In other words, it could cost several $100 billion every year just to pay the interest on the debt, in addition to the debt itself. And DeMint warns the U.S. has no one to turn to for help.
We're going to be worse off than Greece because no one can pick us up. No one can bail us out.
It means your entire economy starts to implode.
What Greece has found out is once you're bankrupt, then you can't make your own decisions anymore. Other countries are telling you what you have to do. Our creditors will tell us what to do because, as we know, the borrower is servant to the lender.
So the question is, will the U.S. be its own master in the future? Or will it face a crippling financial crisis because American politicians couldn't control their spending? We'll know the answer soon enough, and we'll all have to live with it. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Voters in Ohio could be asked if they want to legalize same-sex marriage. The state attorney general has certified language for a state constitutional amendment. It would repeal a previous amendment and define marriage as, quote, a union between two consenting adults regardless of gender. The Columbus Dispatch reports the amendment would let churches refuse to perform same-sex marriage. Gay marriage supporters are now trying to gather enough signatures to put the amendment on the ballot in 2013. 5 former New Orleans police officers will spend a long time in prison for their roles in a deadly shooting right after Hurricane Katrina. The officers fired on unarmed residents after the disaster, killing 2 people. They then organized a widespread cover-up. Their prison sentences range from 6 to 65 years. This is the latest in the Justice Department's push to clean up New Orleans' corrupt police department. Federal and city officials are now working on court-ordered reforms of that department. Sales of the nation's top prescription painkillers are on the rise in new parts of the country. New numbers show distribution of oxycodone and hydrocodone soared dramatically between 2000 and 2010. The greatest increases range from New York's Staten Island to Santa Fe, New Mexico. In 2010, pharmacies, hospitals, and doctors dispensed the equivalent of 69 tons of oxycodone and 42 tons of pure hydrocodone. Experts say the push to relieve patients' suffering is fueling a prescription drug addiction epidemic. Coming up, the race for the White House, President Obama takes aim at Mitt Romney. The general election battle begins to take shape.
On April the 10th, 1912, almost 100 years ago to the day, the most famous ship in recorded history set sail from Southampton, England, with 2,228 souls aboard. The ship's name? The Titanic, the unsinkable queen of the ocean. To commemorate this historic event, and one of the greatest stories ever told, the Sterlington Collection is honored to present the limited edition collectible Deep Romance pendant. This magnificent 14.5 carat faux Ceylon sapphire is hand set in stunning silver tone. The center stone is surrounded by a scintillating set of 20 flawless diamond Z4 crystals and is hung on a striking silver tone herringbone necklace. The beauty, luster, and sparkle of this beautiful pendant and necklace is truly unsurpassed and surely destined to become a cherished family heirloom and a favorite in your jewelry collection. This timeless classic honors those that lost their lives and represents the enduring love symbolized by our Deep Romance pendant. The original is one of the most talked about gemstones in history, and in today's money will be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The Sterlington Collection is proud to present this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to purchase the stunning Deep Romance pendant for the low price of $19.90. Quantities are extremely limited, and if you reserve yours today, you will also receive these magnificent replicas of Titanic memorabilia, including the White Star Line first-class menu, an advertisement for the infamous voyage, and 1 ticket for the Titanic, the finest steamer in the world. Order now, and you can also receive the striking Deep Romance ring, the perfect complement to your Deep Romance pendant. This collection of jewels and memorabilia is only available for a limited time, so call or click to reserve yours today.
Call 1-800-396-0936 and get your Deep Romance pendant. But hurry, callers can get a special offer on a matching ring with today's orders. So call 1-800-396-0936 and find out about free shipping. That's 1-800-396-0936. Call now.
Mitt Romney is increasingly seen as the inevitable winner of the Republican presidential nomination. He's been turning his attention to November and sharpening his attacks against President Obama. Ephraim Graham reports.
With new confidence from his latest primary wins, Mitt Romney is shifting his focus.
We just got to get him out of office. He just doesn't understand what's happening in the country.
Romney and President Obama appear to have zeroed in on each other. both eager for direct engagement. Romney accuses the president of disguising his intentions.
He wants us to reelect him so we can find out what he'll actually do. With all the challenges the nation faces, this is not the time for President Obama's hide-and-seek campaign.
The Obama campaign responded by launching this ad challenging Romney's claims against the president.
He saw free enterprise as the villain and government as a solution.
I believe deeply that the free market is the greatest force for economic progress in human history.
The GOP budget proposal is also turning into a campaign issue. In a speech earlier in the week, the president attacked the plan and its author, Paul Ryan, calling it a Trojan horse.
Disguised as deficit reduction plans, it is really an attempt to impose a radical vision on our country.
Romney defended Ryan, commending him for having the courage to offer serious solutions to the country's skyrocketing deficit spending. The latest polls show Mitt Romney trailing President Obama nationally. They also show more women support Obama than Romney. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
A transgender male will compete in Canada's Miss Universe pageant. Jenna Telikova threatened the organization and its owner, Donald Trump, after being told he couldn't compete in the pageant. Miss Universe rules state that a contestant must be a naturally born female. The 23-year-old was born a male. He underwent a sex change and now has a legal passport, birth certificate, and driver's license that says female. Today, Donald Trump told Good Morning America the decision to allow transgender contestants in Canada is just the beginning.
Probably we'll have to open it up from that standpoint, because if it's in Canada and if it's in the United States in terms of their laws, and if other countries don't necessarily have those laws, it wouldn't be fair just to take certain countries. So we'll probably decide, we haven't made that decision yet, but we'll probably decide to open it up.
Trump says he made the decision to change the rules after examining Canadian and American law. Incredible. Filmmaker Tyler Perry is calling for a national law that labels racial profiling as a hate crime. Police recently pulled over the media mogul for making an illegal turn in his hometown of Atlanta. Perry says 2 white police officers were hostile and rude to him. Witnesses say the situation escalated when Perry tried to explain himself. He's now comparing his situation to the controversial Trayvon Martin case.
The second police officer, rudely go on the other side and start banging on his window, let down your window, let down your window now.
Perry says the situation diffused after a third African-American officer arrived and recognized him. He was never ticketed, even though Perry admits he was in the wrong. Up next, an inside look at a country with 3 presidents and half its population unemployed.
Are you ready to start making money? Doing the things you're probably already doing online anyway? PeopleString.com is an exciting new social network where you can earn cash and prizes just by visiting your favorite social networks, connecting with friends, using our patent-pending Instaportal technology to visit your favorite websites, or playing games such as The Prize Wheel, The Better Half, and hundreds of others. It's the fun, easy way to make money online.
It's free to join and it makes you ching. PeopleString.com.
If you have diabetes and you're on Medicare, call now for a new pain-free meter. These new meters are more accurate, they're easier to use, and the best news is you don't have to prick your fingers anymore. Call now and Arriva Medical will send you one of these new meters for free. And if you have Medicare, your testing supplies may also be covered. Arriva makes it simple. They bill Medicare directly. There are no upfront costs. And they deliver your supplies right to your door for free. With these new meters, there's no coding, you don't have to prick your fingers, and some of these meters even talk.
Your blood glucose reading is 122.
And if you call 1-800-284-9762, we will send you a free Betty Crocker Diabetes Cookbook filled with delicious recipes.
Call Arriva today. You'd be glad you did.
Are you ready to start making money, doing the things you're probably already doing online anyway? PeopleString.com is an exciting new social network where you can earn cash and prizes just by visiting your favorite social networks, connecting with friends, using our patent-pending Instant Portal technology to visit your favorite websites, or playing games such as The Prize Wheel, The Better Half, and hundreds of others. It's the fun, easy way to make money online.
It's free to join and it makes you ching. PeopleString.com.
The Syrian government continues its fierce assault on its own people. Syrian troops today attacked a Damascus suburb. This amateur video reportedly shows the assault. Activists describe it as one of the most violent attacks since the uprising began more than a year ago. Syria's government had worked out a truce deal, but it appears the government there does not intend to abide by it. 20 years ago this week, a brutal war broke out that killed more than 100,000 people. It began when Serbian snipers took up positions in the hills around the Bosnian capital of Sarajevo and began shooting. Today, Bosnia is at peace, but it faces economic problems that could lead to more deadly fighting. George Thomas brings us tonight's Focus Report from Sarajevo.
Nestled in the Balkan Peninsula, the heart-shaped country of Bosnia-Herzegovina is trying to sell itself to the world and to its citizens. Glitzy television commercials showing the sights and sounds of the country have been running for years since the war under the slogan, "Enjoy life in Bosnia." But it's been a hard sell. A first-time visitor to Sarajevo might think that this is a very prosperous nation. The cafes, practically all the cafes in the capital city are jam-packed, just like this one, Monday through Sunday. But the reality is very, very different. In fact, half of this country is unemployed. Young Bosnians are hurting the most.
When we finish with our schooling, we aren't able to find jobs. The economy is so bad that businesses are not hiring. People are getting frustrated.
The lack of work has growing numbers seeking to leave the country.
There is no future for me here. I would leave if I had the chance.
And that pessimism has government officials worrying about brain drain.
I have 2 degrees but couldn't find work, so I moved to Vienna, and now I'm a dance instructor with my own studio there.
Mohamed Yushanovic runs a popular coffee shop in downtown Sarajevo. When you look around here, you see all these kids, all young people. Do these kids have any jobs?
Most of the people here are students or graduates who have borrowed a few dollars from their parents, and they come here, sit, talk with their friends, and have coffee. This is how they spend their time.
Yushanovic, like many others CBN News met, blame politicians and the culture of corruption for most of the country's economic mess.
My opinion is that our system of governance is not working. Nothing gets done because of the political divisions. Those in power don't feel like they have a responsibility to make this country better. Instead, they focus on rewarding their own ethnic group.
I think it was important to do this signing in Paris.
In 1996, the United States brokered the Dayton Peace Accord that helped end a 3.5-year war in Bosnia. The agreement created 2 semi-independent states, one for Bosnian Muslims and Bosnian Croats, and one for Serbs. It also led to a power-sharing agreement with Bosnian Muslims, Serbs, and Croats rotating key government positions. The presidency also rotates between the 3 ethnic groups every 8 months.
We have 3 presidents. Can you imagine this? 2 agree, the third doesn't. Then it flips. One agrees, the other 2 disagree. And it goes on and on in circles, and the country suffers as a result.
This year's Index of Economic Freedom has Bosnia dead last among Balkan countries. In 2011, the nation's credit rating took a hit, downgraded from stable to negative. International investments have slowed. The World Bank ranks Bosnia 125th out of 183 countries in terms of ease of doing business. And the global economic slowdown hasn't helped either.
We're still a country in transition, and it might take a while before we can see brighter days.
The Dayton Accord stopped Bosnians from slaughtering each other, but did little to heal the nation.
16 years after the war, there is a semblance of peace. Many people are surprised that violence hasn't erupted, but when you talk to a Serb, a Croat, or a Muslim, very few people talk about reconciliation and a coming together within the society.
Do you worry about the future?
Look, for me, it's the basic things. I want my children to feel safe, feel secure, have a stable future, and to make sure the things that happened in the past don't happen again.
What are the chances that there could be another war in Bosnia?
Yes, the potential for another war is huge. I was a commander during the Bosnian War. I was here 20 years ago fighting on the front lines to defend Sarajevo. Today, I see all the reasons for another war. Economic stress, political divisions, ethnic divisions, religious tensions. It's all there. It's all a matter of time.
George Thomas, CBN News, Sarajevo, Bosnia.
News.com. Huh? Uh-oh.
CBN News, Capitol Hill.
I don't have to wait for my news anymore.
CBNNews.com at your fingertips all day long.
I only watch the stories I want to see.
I find the story, I click on it, and boom, I'm there.
I'm Chris Mitchell reporting from Jerusalem.
The source for your news, CBNNews.com.
Are you ready to start making money? Doing the things you're probably already doing online anyway? PeopleString.com is an exciting new social network where you can earn cash and prizes just by visiting your favorite social networks, connecting with friends, using our patent-pending Instaportal technology to visit your favorite websites, or playing games such as The Prize Wheel, The Better Half, and hundreds of others. It's the fun, easy way to make money online.
It's free to join and it makes you ching. PeopleString.com.
If you have diabetes and you're on Medicare, call now for a new pain-free meter. These new meters are more accurate, they're easier to use, and the best news is you don't have to prick your fingers anymore. Call now and Arriva Medical will send you one of these new meters for free. And if you have Medicare, your testing supplies may also be covered. Arriva makes it simple. They bill Medicare directly. There are no upfront costs. And they deliver your supplies right to your door for free. With these new meters, there's no coding, you don't have to prick your fingers, and some of these meters even talk.
Your blood glucose reading is 122.
And if you call 1-800-284-9762, we will send you a free Betty Crocker Diabetes Cookbook filled with delicious recipes.
Call Arriva today. You'd be glad you did.
Are you ready to start making money? Doing the things you're probably already doing online anyway? PeopleString.com is an exciting new social network where you can earn cash and prizes just by visiting your favorite social networks, connecting with friends, using our patent-pending Instaportal technology to visit your favorite websites, or playing games such as The Prize Wheel, The Better Half, and hundreds of others. It's the fun, easy way to make money online.
It's free to join and it makes you ching. PeopleString.com.
And finally, a church in Michigan gets new pews just in time for Easter, and it's all thanks to a winning lotto ticket. Paul Turner is staying out of the limelight after he pulled one of the winning tickets from last week's historical Mega Millions jackpot in Michigan. A cashier from the winning store says Turner got the first 4 matching numbers, making him $250,000 richer. But instead of cashing it all, he's giving some of the money to his local church.
He said that he had wanted to do something for the church for a long time, so that's what he's going to do, is donate a portion of the winnings so that they can have new pews for Easter. It just made me happy that he was doing something to help the community.
Turner's been giving the church $10 a month for years for the pews. He says he's just happy now he can fulfill his pledge in one lump sum. It's a good use of lottery dollars, I think. Well, that's all for this edition of NewsWatch. Remember, you can email us your comments and questions at newswatch@cbn.com. We hope you'll join us next time. Until then, have a good evening.